Why am I talking? It's America, isn't it? Well, let me rephrase that. People don't know what America is or what it's about. We are the United States of America, correct? And you're supposed to have the freedom of speech here, right? People came to America before the United States was created under laws, unifying laws. People came here for the freedom of speech. The main reason we were created was for the freedom of speech. The freedom to exercise religion. People were getting hung in Europe for, this thing's too close to my face. People were getting hung in Europe for reading the Bible. So people fled to America for freedom. Okay, you got Christopher Columbus. A lot of people tend to hate Christopher Columbus nowadays because they say that he claims to have founded America. Well, what did Christopher Columbus do? Do I know if he was Democrat or Republican? They weren't labeled that back then, but in his beliefs he's Democrat or Republican. I'm not sure. He sounded kind of like Joe Biden to me because he's the first person to tell everybody. He might not be the first person to find America, but he's the first one to go around the world telling everybody, here's a land with not many people. Come on over. There's a wide open land. Very few people here. So he sounds kind of like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris saying, hey, we got a land here with hardly any people. We can help anybody you want. We got all the help you need right here. Come on over. Well, so I'm talking not because I'm getting over an injury. I didn't want to wait for this to heal to talk, but I thought, look, it's entertainment value. So I'm giving you a little something extra to look at and wonder about, I suppose. So we're supposed to be allowed to talk. Our media venues, the news, and a lot of the people in the news want to be the only ones allowed to speak. And so they've tried to stop other people from speaking, but you should hear my perspective. I can run faster than you. I might be a slower runner than you, which gives me a different perspective than you. Either way, it gives me a different perspective. I used to be considered a fast runner. In high school. In college, I guess I was too. They just thought I wasn't dedicated enough. But I did feel faster than everybody. I thought if I play football, I can beat you in football. So I thought from a spiritual standpoint back then, somewhat, I'm supposed to try to be humble. And back then, so in some sports and stuff, I didn't promote myself. But you're not going to make in sports unless you promote yourself. So the defining humility, what's humble, what's not humble, being a realist, going against what's real is not humble either. It's trying to pretend you're humble and maybe not even realizing you're trying to pretend to be humble. So we have a lot of psychological problems as human beings, right? A lot of psychological misconceptions. But America... So we got the United States of America. USA. That's my shirt says USA. It's not gray is not my favorite color, but I like the USA thing. Because I grew up here. It's a country in the world. I don't hate any country in the world for being a country in the world. Right? It's a country in the world. It's a pretty neat earth. We have pretty trees. Every country has a pretty tree, or pretty flat land, or a pretty hill, or something, right? So I love God's green earth. Okay. So I'm from the USA. That's where I'm from. And there's a lot that's pretty neat about this country. It's a new country. It's not an old country. It's not a country that came up with slavery or anything like that. Despite what it seems the Democrats want to teach. But who are the Democrats? The Democrats are the party linked to the European countries who came here and brought slavery here. They're the ones linked to the side of the country, not the side who was escaping. There is when people came fleeing to America, in a sense, a lot of them, and trying to create a free country, freedom of speech, that was one of our main things. Who's trying to take that away nowadays? Mostly Democrats. There are confused Republicans or fake Republicans sometimes, like the ones I've heard some in the news talk about homeless people. They just don't want to live. They want to be homeless. They like living outside. Okay, I don't hear you talking about a housing solution here and giving people an option. You're trying to judge that they all don't deserve to have a home or don't want a home. They'd rather walk 5 miles to find a restroom while they're peeing in their pants and can't hold it any longer. All that kind of stuff. I don't think if people say they prefer it, they probably prefer not to go through all your rules and your down payments because they can't. So they've learned to prefer that rather than go and get rejected 1,000 times. So it's anyway, but people in the news and different places should be offering solutions, not stereotyping people and deciding. Most of them don't want a house. So that kind of, whether people are psychologically just incapacitated or they're just tired of, they don't have patience for people, imperfect people because they're so perfect, or whatever the case is, maybe they should be kicked out of their house and home for drinking coffee for a week. And if they, maybe a few months, and if they drink coffee one more time, get rejected from housing. And then we'll say that they want to stay homeless so they can still sneak some coffee every now and then. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of crazy. But we need to offer solutions, and then let people make their decisions and choices and quit making such big obstacles for people to have housing. That's a little bit off the subject, but it kind of linked to the subject. So we have people who had psychological issues like that back then, and little simple complications and misconceptions and stereotyping. But we have two sides to America. Most people don't realize there's two sides to America. It's not that America everybody claims is the Europe we tried to escape. America, mostly though, is the opposite of the Europe that we all mostly escaped, right? And so the European nation leaders followed their escapees here and tried to take over and keep freedom gone, keep freedom of speech gone. And the Democrats are that's the side of the country they represent. And they're like that more now than ever. And they're trying to bring immigrants who are against freedom here. That's the kind of immigrants they want to come here. And they want those types to come here. They're bringing fentanyl to kill people here. They're allowing all that stuff in through cartels. They've supported the cartels. They supported slavery. But the side of America that came here for freedom actually won the Civil War and created the United States under the outlawing of slavery. There's so much people. I mean, that's the bigger side of the story of the country that we don't hear anymore because Europe, the government form in Europe, the Democrats have created monopolies. They pretend to be against monopolies, but they created a monopoly in media, and they've lied to people and tried to make black and white people think that they hate each other. They've tried to make black folks that think all white Americans hate black people or they're racist, and that's not the case. There was a half and half, and even less than half and half, because there were people even in the South who were settlers that weren't part of the government, but they don't like cold weather, right? And it was just they didn't feel like traveling any further, and they settled here. But the government is what took over the slavery government in the South back then. And I'm going to keep this under 10 minutes. But I'm talking because I'm supposed to be allowed to talk in peace without getting attacked and getting one of these. This is not a black eye, by the way. I got punched in the head and up here, and it swelled and fell down to the eye. So I was kind of lucky. I didn't get hit certain spots, but I'm healing up. Anyhow, it's supposed to be a free country. Hopefully people start to realize there's two sides to the country, and the side that claims there's only one side is actually the side they accuse the other side of being. Adios.